Today is a quick video on 3 new Express LRS receivers from Radiomaster. They all make use of the new LR1121 chip found in the GX12 radio and the Nomad module. The main advantage being that they can receive both 2.4 GHz and the low bands of 868 and 900 MHz on the same chip. For the first two, they are calling them multi-frequency receivers, but that's not to be confused with the Gemini-x crossband system. So their new XR1 nano receiver can be purchased with either a dedicated 2.4 GHz antenna, an 868/900 MHz antenna, or a dual band antenna if you want to switch your model between both frequencies between flights. There's no need for two separate receivers to do that. The XR1 does not make use of the dual transmission redundancy method, Gemini-x or crossband. It's either one or the other, hence the single antenna rather than two. The downside to this is if you have bought the receiver with a dedicated 2.4 GHz antenna but want to switch to 868 or 900 MHz, you will have to swap the antennas over, and you only get a few successful goes of that with UFL connectors. Another downside is that you could accidentally select 868 or 900 MHz in your settings, but have a 2.4 GHz antenna connected to the receiver, and vice versa, so you have to be a lot more vigilant of your settings and modes before flying. I think if you plan on switching between frequencies, the best option is the dual band antenna, but these tend not to be tuned as well as dedicated 2.4 GHz antennas or 868/900 MHz antennas. Otherwise, there wouldn't be the need for both options. Then we have the XR2 nano receiver with a miniature 2.4 GHz tower antenna built into the board. So while the chip is capable of both frequencies, the antenna is not and cannot be removed from the board. This one is more aimed at racers, designed specifically to take advantage of the LR1121 FSK DK500 packet rate options, and for 99% of people it's not going to be relevant. But for racers where blinking or any kind of packet loss is not an option while flying close in on a racetrack, you can use this receiver to try out those options. You'll just need a radio or module with the LR1121 chipset so that you can use them. Then we have the XR4, which is basically a compact version of the Gemini crossband DBR4 receiver already released. So it has twin LR1121 chips and can operate on 2.4 GHz, 868 or 900 MHz or dual band, so the Gemini-x mode. This one only comes with 2 dual band antennas compared to the 4 on the DBR4 receiver, so it's most suited for using with the Gemini crossband mode, where on the transmitter side it transmits the packets twice, either on both 2.4 GHz at the same time or 868/900 MHz at the same time, or the Gemini crossband mode where both 2.4 GHz and 868/900 MHz are sent twice at the same time. The idea being that there's a redundancy if either one of them loses packets on the receiving end. The downside to this is that dual band antennas are not as accurate as dedicated 2.4 GHz or 868/900 MHz antennas, so if you use this receiver in Gemini 2.4 GHz mode, for example, then it won't be as good as a dedicated 2.4 GHz antenna. But you could say the fact that it's sending them twice makes up for that. Another downside that I've picked up on is that transmitting twice puts a lot more strain on your transmitter's battery, especially when you start to up the power output. The Nomad module has the option of an external battery, but the GX12 transmitter doesn't. I do think it's great that we have all of these options for receivers, but it does mean that you have to be a lot more careful when purchasing your receiver to ensure the features and modes you want are supported. And while these new receivers are compatible with all current Express LRS modules and radios, the specific LR1121 features and modes require LR1121 modules and radios. At the making of this video, these 3 new receivers don't have any EU LBT firmware, and it's not clear if they ever will. The issue with 868/900 MHz in the EU is that the max power output can only be 25 milliwatt, but 2.4 GHz can be up to 100 milliwatt with LBT. And the power output is currently only one selection with Gemini crossband. Time will tell if they find a workaround for that, as FrSky and Jetty both have CE markings on their products and offer a similar type of system. And that's it. Thanks for watching.